Hello, this is Howard Kravitz, the host of the HHH Racing Podcast. Welcome to episode 131 of the podcast. Thanks for joining us tonight. We've got a really exciting show. We're going to be combining recent Kentucky Derby news and briefly talk about some of the horses that have defected and some of the horses that are now in the Kentucky Derby. And then we're going to talk about a fascinating late pick five sequence this Saturday at Santa Anita. They have 4 stake races within the sequence. There are 2 stake races. Big field at Santa Anita this weekend on Saturday. Very excited to talk to you about that. Please make sure you subscribe to the bottom right hand side of the screen. Our subscriptions have gone way up. I am so proud and thankful. We have a lot of people, new people joining the show. Thank you very much. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right hand side of the screen on the YouTube channel. And then also hit that notification bell because that'll tell you when new content will be brought up on the channel. Also smash that thumbs up button. Really appreciate it. If you are listening right now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Anchor, thank you very much for listening on those platforms and subscribing. But if you have subscribed on those audio platforms, please make sure you go to the YouTube channel also and subscribe there. I'd greatly appreciate it. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and more. We're about 950 approximately. Just need 50 more. That's a handful. So please make sure you tell everyone to subscribe to the HHH Racing Podcast on YouTube. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter as well, as my Twitter handles have gone up also, and I put a lot of great content, I believe, out there on Twitter. You can see it on my name tag there, at H. Kravitz, on the bottom of the screen. And also right now on the bottom of the screen on the scroll is my email. It's hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. HKRAVETS horse@gmail.com. Feel free to email me with any questions, comments, concerns, anything about the show. And also, please make sure down below the video player you comment. We don't get as many comments down below the video player because we are a live show, but I'd really appreciate any comments you have about the show. Positives, negatives, whatever you feel like, as long as they're appropriate, please make sure you comment below the video player. If you're joining me in the live chat, we already have a lot of people right now live here on YouTube on Thursday night here just after 8 o'clock Eastern. Join that live chat, top right-hand corner. We're going to have a very lively discussion again tonight with my 2 fantastic newly crowned co-hosts. We'll interject your questions and comments, of course, just like this one right here from Stan Drayden. Stan, I'm doing great. The Stan Man is here. We have a new viewer. Love the people at Arkansas, Oakland Park. I love it, Stan. Welcome to the show. Get your friends to make sure they join the show and subscribe. I love when we have new people coming onto the show. Thank you, Stan. Appreciate it. Just like Stan right there, just comment and just bring you up on the screen. It's real simple. Few quick comments. Again, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor, where you can listen to replays. The Race Day blog. I went over a lot of information on Tuesday, so please make sure you check out the Tuesday show also. But again, as many of you know, but not all of you, below the video player, if you just click show more, I have 3 different promotions going on. One is the Race Day blog. We have some new people who have bought into the blog recently. Thank you very much. It's fantastic. Price plays, spot plays, pick 4s, pick 5s, ABC grids. Before last week, I haven't done the stats yet. I have an over $5 ROI. Hitting Awesome Jerry at 20-1 definitely helps that ROI. I know a lot of people out there had Awesome Jerry 2 weeks ago at Keeneland. One of my best plays of the week, a spot play. So join the Race Day blog. I also have a promotion through BetUS, which is a fantastic betting platform site. You can receive over 125% of free bets. Again, look below the video player and you can find out how to do that. And then the podcast pool. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the podcast pool. If you are on my email list, you received a long email today about the $1 super effective bet that we're going to be playing in the Derby. If you have no idea what the podcast pool is, you didn't receive that email, etc. I'm going to talk about a little more in just a minute here, but feel free to email me, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Again, look at the bottom of the screen there if you're watching on YouTube and you see the scroll, and I will give you information about not only the podcast pool, but the $1 super effective bet that we're going to be playing on the Kentucky Derby. Before I bring on my guests, and I'll bring them on here, I'm not going to call them guests anymore. Excuse me, gentlemen. My co-hosts. I'm so used to saying guests. My two co-hosts. I want to talk about next week, and I have a banner for that, so let me bring this up here very briefly before I bring on my fantastic co-host right now. So, next week, here's what's happening. Please pay attention carefully, folks. 6+ hours of live coverage. I'm going to have some expert, nationally renowned handicappers on the show, along with my great co-hosts as well. We're going to be showing a lot of video replays and stats. We're going to talk about horizontal bets like the pick 5, pick 6, etc. I don't know if you folks saw, but Churchill Downs just put out some information about some new bets they have coming, including a $3 pick 3 all dirt play and a lot of other information. So we'll tell you about that. Also, we're going to give you vertical plays, trifectas, etc. throughout the big weekend. And of course, plays for the Oaks and Derby Day. Now, my co-hosts do not know about some brand new breaking news information of people that are coming on the pod next week. I see them in the backstage anxiously waiting. They're like, who is coming on next week? I thought I was good enough. You guys are awesome, but listen, we got to enhance it. We got to step it up. This is Derby week. So let's talk a little bit more about what's happening. Next week, and all these times are 8 p.m. Eastern. Monday, the post position draw is out. I believe it starts at 2 o'clock Eastern, I believe. But at 8 o'clock Eastern, we're going to have strictly a show talking about post positions for the Oaks and Derby. What we believe the post positions will have an effect on the run of the Derby. Who made out fantastically with the post positions, who crapped out on the post positions, etc. And then we will in detail go through the bottom 10 Derby horses by the current projected morning line odds. Tuesday, we will talk exclusively about not our top 10, but the top 10 current projected morning line odds horses. We'll go through them in detail and tell you how we feel about them. Here's some breaking news. Are we ready? Wednesday, we are going to be talking about Kentucky Oaks Day, which is Friday, and the stakes in late pick 5. But here's what our co-host did not know. In fact, no one knows until now. Special guest, Frank Mustari. He is one of the best handicappers and contest players in the country. He is going to be joining us on Wednesday to help us get through the Kentucky Oaks Day, and a big surprise guest. I can't say who. I know our co-hosts want to know. I'm not going to tell them. They're going to be surprised too. We're going to have a surprise guest handicapper coming on Wednesday as well. And then Thursday, folks, check it out. Kentucky Derby Day preview, stakes, late pick 5, detailed analysis with guess who? The NHC champion, Frank Mustari's son, Justin Mustari. The 2021 NHC champion, Justin Mustari, will be live here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I don't know about you guys. That is a lineup. I try to bring on the best people possible on this show, and that's what's happening next week. So please join us next week, Monday through Thursday, over 6 hours of coverage. It's going to be fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my co-hosts are patiently waiting. Let's bring them on. We're going to have 2 topics we're going to talk about. And first, we're going to talk about some of the Kentucky Derby defections and some of the horses that are in the Kentucky Derby as I go ahead and set a few things up. Let's bring them on right now, my fantastic new co-hosts. From the East Coast, we have Pete Visco and Paul Halloran will be coming on just a second. Paul actually just coming from work. Wow, Paul's looking spiffy. Sort of looks like a guy I saw on TVG last Sunday. Paul, give me a little thumbs up if you're ready. When you're ready, Paul, give me a thumbs up, and I'll bring you on. All right, we're all ready. Look at Paul's outside. He's got his camera going. Pete, let's talk to you first while Paul, by the way, Paul, you are muted right now, just to let you know. Pete, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How about you? I'm ready to go put a suit and tie on now. I
Yeah.
feel embarrassed here with Paul like
I'm
this.
ready to take it off, Pete. But as you know, Pete, work gets in the way sometimes. So
Every
I'm in
once
a
in a
middle of a
while.
long program, and I'm taking a quick break because I figured if I desert after only one show, then I'd be replaced. In fact, he's already trying to replace us, Pete. So,
Wow.
uh,
Well, no. Well, all right, Paul, I appreciate you coming on. Looks like you're outside there. I'm going to let you talk first. And again, anytime you got to leave and come back, Paul, no worries at all. I know
yeah, I
Paul
want to
had
talk Derby. The Santa Anita stuff you guys can handle. I didn't. I sent you
perfect.
my play.
Yes, you did.
I've been spending so much time this week on Oaks and Derby. I did a cursory glance at that Santa Anita card. So, but
No problem.
this is all about the Derby.
All right, so we'll have Paul will be on here. I mean, what commitment I know he's got a big event. I really appreciate it, Paul. Let's just jump right in. You can see on the bottom of the screen. Right now, Morello, of course, is out. Early voting is a question mark. Classic Causeway, who already had points, definitely in. Happy Jack, definitely in. Pioneer of Medina will get in if early voting is out. Let's talk about the horses that are out. Paul, I'm going to focus on you, and Pete, we can interject a little bit, but we'll give Paul his just due. Did you think Morello had any chance, Paul? He was probably more at mid-pack. He ran some nice races in your neck of the woods there at Aqueduct.
Yeah, I didn't think he had much of a chance, Howard, but I would have given him a better chance than Classic Causeway, who, I get it. The two owners are both in their 80s. I would run him too, but I would have to think he's finishing 18th, 19th, or 20th. So I didn't think I would have given Morello a better chance than him, but not a win chance, in my opinion, no.
And I mean, Morello just threw in a complete clunker in the wood. I mean, he was bad. He didn't break. It was a complete non-effort. I personally would have been completely against him in the Derby. Early voting, Paul, is a fascinating situation. Pete, I'll have you comment right after this early voting comment from Paul here. Very fast horse. Chad's already got one, a horse called Zandon, who I love, by the way. If you were the connections, you are the owner, Paul. Congratulations of early voting. What would you do with this horse?
Well, if I owned him, I would run him. But if I was Seth Klarman and I owned him, I wouldn't run him. So, early voting right now, as we speak, Howard, is bedded down at Belmont Park, I believe. I would be very surprised. Chad keeps saying, he'll see what happens, but I think Classic Causeway coming back in makes it even less likely. Without Classic Causeway, I definitely would have run him because I thought he ran a little better after watching that replay a few times. I thought he ran a little better than I thought. Is he going to get a mile and a quarter? Well, who knows who's going to get a mile and a quarter? Except for our guy Zandon, Howard. We know our guy Zandon is going to get a mile and a quarter.
You would think so. But that number came back fast in the wood.
Yeah, I would, again, if Chad's talking about the race flow is, in my opinion, significantly different with Classic Causeway in, not to early voting's advantage. And, they talked about the Preakness. They've done this before with cloud computing. I think Chad is quietly very confident in Zandon. So from his point of view, I don't think he needs early voting in the race to set up Zandon, although it wouldn't hurt. But I would say I'd be very surprised if he leaves Belmont Park until it's time to go to Pimlico.
Yeah, supposedly now he's going to make a last-second decision. That's what I hear. Pete, how do you feel about early voting? If he went to the Derby, obviously it's going to affect the pace. Would he have a chance? Would you send him if you were the owners?
You know what? I think I would have. I agree with Paul on the Classic Causeway angle, though, because I thought if early voting could get in when all the other speed looked like it was defecting, then I thought early voting might have had a shot. And I think he's pretty strong. I actually liked it. I liked that wood a lot more than other people did too. And I thought he could be, hey, speed holds in the Derby a lot of times. These aren't sprinters out there anymore. So I thought he can go in and maybe not hold to win, but I mean, if you get loose enough and you can slow the pace down, you never know. But I mean, hit the board. Shoot, I'll hit the board in the Derby if I was the owner. So I'd take that anytime. But I agree with Classic Causeway in early voting. Classic Causeway, if he gets a decent post position, he breaks so fast that I'd have a hard time seeing early voting getting the lead. And then he'd have to sit off, and I'm not sure if he's ready to do that and all that. So I think maybe going to the Preakness would probably be the best move.
Paul, I think the owners' hearts want to go to the Derby. I mean, listen, It's one shot, right? I mean, you're only a 3-year-old once. The Kentucky Derby only happens once. I mean, if I was in that situation, would I love to take that walk with the horse in front of 100? I mean, 150,000. It's hard to deny that. But from a handicapping standpoint, I would not like him at all in the Derby. I think it'd be a big mistake purely from a handicapping standpoint. He'd be what 25 to 1 in the Derby, something, maybe 20 to 1 at most. If he works well, I mean, he could be what, second, third, fourth choice in the Preakness, maybe 6, 7 to 1 with a real shot, with horses coming off a very difficult race 2 weeks before that. I mean, I think he'd be a very live shot in the Preakness to me, Paul.
Yeah, he'd be one of those, you talk about the new shooters every year going into the Preakness, although, typically you're better off having run in the Derby. But, he would be one of the new shooters. I agree. He would be, and he will be. Seth Klarman is, I believe, one of the 100 richest guys in the world or in the country or whatever, right? So, I just don't think he needs it for his ego. Hey, would I do it? Like I said, I wrote a lot about a horse named Brooklyn Strong last year. We could do a whole show on it. Mark Schwartz, great guy, paid $5,000 for the horse. Everyone started defecting last year. I was on the phone with them Friday night, 8 nights before the Derby. And he said, hey, how come they're not talking about us? And I said, well, because you said you weren't going to run. He goes, well, I'd run. I go, well, you got to call Churchill down. So he called him the next day, and he ran. And, unfortunately, the horse hasn't been the same since. He probably could have done a lot of winning in state breds. But if I'm Mark Schwartz and I paid $5,000 and they said, you can come to Churchill Downs in an owner's seat the first Saturday in May, I'm in. So, but Seth Klarman is a different story, right? So he doesn't need that, and I think you'll see him in Baltimore.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to Gabriel Espinoza, who's Tom Espinoza's son. Gabriel, hope to meet you sometime. Your father's a big fan of the show. Really appreciate Gabriel stepping up for his father tonight, subbing in. Gabriel, don't be a stranger. Thanks for joining in. All right, let's talk about the horses that are in real quick. And Paul, again, I'll let you go first, then leave when you need to. Classic Causeway apparently has been working great. They love what they've seen. I don't think he has a chance in hell, but he's in. Happy Jack for Doug O'Neill. Listen, Doug, and by the way, Bearano is reunited with Doug O'Neill. He's going to be a very long shot. And Pioneer Medina, and I've heard a little buzz from some people that really think Pioneer Medina can not only be a bit of a pace factor, but he's run some nice races, and I think some people feel like he could sneak up in the Super if he runs, and that would add even a little more pace, although probably a little more pressing pace rather than someone who has the lead.
Yeah, but I think, Howard, you have just described why horses go off in the Derby probably lower than they should, and I agree with everything you said as far as those horses' chances, but they're all going to be lower odds than they should. Horses, people, remember, there's 150,000 people there. There's probably millions, hundreds of thousands of people who bet one day a year, right? And they maybe bet one race a year. And we need their money in the pari-mutuel pool. So
I heard someone say that on Twitter today when we were talking about Crown Pride.
Yes. Oh, keep talking. And I told you, no one is a bigger sucker than me for these overseas horses. And I will be betting with my friend Pete Shalama on Friday.
Wait, I know someone. I don't want to say sucker because that sounds very disrespectful. Davey Lane, Davey, big fan of the show.
Davey's the best.
Davey's fantastic. For those of you who don't know Davey Lane, you're going to meet him on this show. He's from Liverpool, England. He's given us he's a fantastic punter, as they say, over in Europe and in the UK. Fantastic guy. The minute Crown Pride won, who, by the way, if I can toot my own horn, I liked it 18-1 last time, just to say. Check out our live show from Dubai if you don't believe me, folks. Davey immediately said, there's your Derby win. I'll tell you what, I think he worked, 46 in a piece and is getting some buzz, Paul.
Well, he works every day, by the way. It's just you put the morning show. One day it's a blowout, one day it's full throw. They're going to work him again Sunday and Tuesday. And hey, look, again, you can't be afraid to get beat by a good horse in any race, let alone the Derby. Okay, he can beat me. He's not on my list. I know people who I respect their opinion a lot, who like him a lot. So again, he wins, I lose. It's happened before. Oddly enough.
But Paul, real quick, your thoughts on Pioneer Medina? He's run some nice races at the fairgrounds. I don't know if he's improving, but He's been around the wire a little bit, but he
Yep.
still seems slow and not good enough.
Yeah, I'm going to use him underneath, Howard. I'm kind of,
Okay.
again, there's going to be, you know how it works, right? Some horses you use on top, some you use underneath, and some you don't use. There's 20 to go around. So
Yeah.
he would be on my underneath list.
Pete, any thoughts quickly on Pioneer Medina, the decision of the Classic Causeway? I think Brian Lynch, I believe, to have him in, and then Happy Jack for Doug O'Neill, if you know anything about that horse as well.
Yeah, like I said, Classic Causeway. I mean, again, since it seems like an owner's decision, I think that's one that's going to just run backwards. But I was actually excited to get that horse in there because the pace just seemed to be defecting out. It just seemed like I wasn't sure who was going to be on top. But now you're almost guaranteed at least, maybe not a hot pace. Hopefully, I would love one with some of the horses I like and I know you guys like. So I would love to see a little bit of pace up there, and he's almost guaranteed because he's got no shot. He's got no shot to not have to wire the field and just try and let them catch him. I mean, that's what he's going to have to do, but I think the other horses will come get him. Pioneer Medina, I agree with you. I think he's okay. I don't love him. He's probably he's potentially an underneath. I haven't decided that much yet, but he feels like he'd be sitting off, and if he's sitting off and no one else is close, maybe he can get first run at a horse like Classic Causeway. And hey, once you hit the lane, anything can happen. Those legs start getting weary that last eighth of a mile. So depending on who could hold.
Paul, last question for you, and then I'll let you go unless you can or want to stick around longer. With Classic Causeway in, help, hurt, or no effect on Epicenter?
I would say hurt.
Why?
Well, I think Epicenter is going to be a forwardly placed horse, and the more other forwardly placed horses there are, I think is to his disadvantage. Now, I don't think he's going to try to outrun him early, but, he's a pretty tactical horse. He wants to be, and he has been on the lead. Remember, they took him back last time in the Louisiana Derby, mainly to teach him a little lesson, right, about how to come from behind. But he wants to go, and you can't choke a horse back too much. So it's somewhere between hurt and neutral. I certainly don't think it helps him.
Paul, we really appreciate you, coming on the show here for the short amount of time.
4 next week, Howard. Every night. Let's do more than 6 hours.
All right. Well, there you go. If I have any voice left, Paul, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for.
I'll talk to you guys Monday.
See you,
all right.
Paul.
Take care, Paul. Thanks. All right, Pete. As usual, he just leaves us out in the cold.
Yeah.
That's all right. No. Listen.
Second day, he's already crapping out on us. What can you do?
I just want to say to the public out there listening and watching that, Paul told me he had a conflict that he would try to make it. I mean, he's coming, like, you can see he's dressed up. He's at an event, and he still takes the time to talk to us for 10, 15 minutes. That's the kind of guys and co-hosts I have here. Really shout out to Paul for jumping in. All right, Pete, we got a lot of people watching. Again, thank you for joining us here. I'm here with my co-host, Pete Visco, episode 131 of the HHH Racing Podcast. We are going to dive now into, Pete, what I thought as I handicapped last night and today, a very, very interesting late pick 5 sequence at Santa Anita, 2 stake races. I was hoping for bigger fields. I thought there would be because of this is a little bit of a showcase day. And the other 2 stake races they've decided to put earlier in the card because it's a small field. So I think great job by the racing secretaries to do that. Pete, I'm going to go ahead here and bring up the Aquabase entries here, and then we'll bring up the PPs. As I do that and do some tech stuff here in the background, any quick thoughts overall on the sequence for people that have not seen the sequence at all yet?
Yeah, I thought it was actually a pretty tough sequence. I think I'm with you on that. I mean, not all the races were huge fields, but I thought they were all pretty competitive. I agree with you that taking those other 2 stakes races, because they potentially could have been singles, big chalks winning, and it would have probably ruined the sequence, ruined the potential payout of the sequence. I don't think in here, I don't know about you when we get to each race, I don't think in here there's a race where there's a super standout where you're like, oh, I have to just put that horse in and it's a potential single. I didn't have any of those. So I thought it was interesting from that point. The first race, you kick off right away with, very lightly raced maidens. So that always makes it tough. So yeah, good sequence, potential for a decent payout. I'll say my only disappointment was probably like you, I handicapped with no morning lines. And then when I had my ticket written out and I went to look at the morning lines today, I was like, oh crap, I have a ton of low priced horses, a ton of favorites. So me and the morning line maker are in line, which I don't think is usually a good thing.
Because I've done so many Thursday shows, Pete, I'm actually used to handicapping without the morning lines. I got to tell you, I like it more than seeing the morning lines. I really do.
Me too.
And as it turns out, and I'm seeing this quite often, maybe with my handicapping, for better or for worse, there are a lot of favorites I flat out do not like on Saturday. So if you, ladies and gentlemen, if you agree with some of my handicapping tonight and my opinions, we got a chance to make a big score. And also, let me just put us back full screen. Those of you that are involved in the podcast pool, this is the last week of podcast pool number 3, based on the field sizes of this pick 5. This will be the podcast pool bet this week on Saturday, the late pick 5 at Santa Anita. So Pete, without further ado, let's just jump right in right now here as I'm going to go full screen. And I've decided to do tickers on the bottom of the screen, folks, because it gives us a little more room on the screen. Now, Paul, obviously, he's not going to be with us to handicap in person, but he did do his handicapping. He did send in some picks, although I just want to let everyone know, if you're showing up late and you just joined us, and I love Paul's transparency. He probably didn't deep dive like I know I did, and I'm sure Pete did as well. So that doesn't mean he's going to be wrong and we're going to be right, but I just want to say, for full disclosure, Paul did not spend as much time on the pick 5 as he would have liked. All right, Pete, let's jump in. It starts in race 8, and it's going to start at 7:34 Eastern Standard Time. So if you're part of the podcast pool, have a wonderful afternoon Saturday. Go do stuff with the family. Enjoy yourself. Have an early dinner, especially if you're on the East Coast, and then join and watch the pick 5. There are 2 main special weights to start the pick 5. And Pete, as you well know, as an experienced handicapper, some people like that, some people don't. The fact that they are the first 2 races, though, of course, will give us a chance to look at the odds. And ladies and gentlemen, these are not, I repeat, these are not baby races. These are not 2-year-olds. They've all, many of these horses have run before. The first one is 6.5 furlongs. It's on the dirt. There's the field right there, open company. The morning line favorite is the number 5, Family Affair. This is an Ontario bred for Peter Urton and Abel Cedillo, and that is who you're going with. As everyone, you can see the picks on the bottom of the screen. Pete, tell us about what you like on Family Affair 5-2.
Yeah, there was a few things. So first of all, second off, a little bit of a layoff, and the first race back off the layoff jumps to a 77 buyer. And again, there's a lot of first time starters in here, but that 77 seems like it would be a good number for this group. And then as I was looking at it, so I watched the first race just to see what happened. And I mean, in the debut, it went off at 80 cents. So obviously it was getting some buzz. I mean, it's a $300,000 horse. So it's bred pretty well. So obviously it was taking some buzz, taking some money, but then you watch it and it broke last. So it broke terrible, which, isn't unexpected for a first time starter. And then checked bad trying to come up the rail down the lane and just sort of went backwards. And again, that's expected. These horses don't really know what they're doing just yet. Then they give it a little bit of time off, comes back, runs a nice 77, doesn't hold, but gets into a little bit of, it's up there, it's on the pace, it runs well. And then the one stat I liked was
Pete, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to show a little bit of that last race.
Yeah, fire away.
Family Affair is the 2. By the way, the 4 horse is also in this race on Saturday. You're going to see Family Affair, who's the 2 in this race, break a little bit slow. You can see he definitely breaks, a good, maybe length and a half slow. He's got to take up a little bit. What I really like about this horse in this effort is the rush up doesn't usually work very well, but he rushes up in between and stays on, Pete.
Yeah. Now, I guess the problem would be, though, that's 2 races where he broke badly. So
it is.
Hopefully they can try and work that out at some point. But again, maybe this field isn't the strongest field in the world, so it may not hurt. But again, you just don't want to keep tempting fate like that. You're gonna keep coming up short.
Yeah, and he gives it up here in the lane, and there's 2 decent horses here coming over the top. But the race on Saturday is 6.5. He's got to break better, Pete. I mean,
he's got to. Yeah, he's got to at 6.5. So real quick, we can get to the other picks, but the So Urton has a 7 for 22 win and a 12 for 22 in the money with Maidens second off this type of layoff. So maybe, it seems like just from that stat alone that he's good with, hey, we took the long layoff, we bring the horse back as sort of as a tightener, and then the next one, maybe we come back and we're strong. So when I saw that, the horse has been working pretty well. I was like, and again, I didn't have the morning line odds. You could have probably guessed that it was the favorite or close to it, but this is where I landed.
Yeah, and by the way, the 2 secret fix was the horse in that same race that broke on top, but really gave it up late. I
Yeah.
will say 2-back, he did run well, though, so it's up to you what you want to do with secret fix. Your second choice is an interesting horse, Banjo Queen for Blacker, who I believe has good stats, turf to dirt.
Yeah, and honestly, this is one of those. I'm a sucker for these, and half the time they don't work out for me. But sometimes you can. And again, 5-1 was maybe a little lighter. I was hoping maybe it would drift up a little bit more. But one thing I did like, you're right, Blacker was 4 for 11 and 7 for 11 in the money with turf to dirt maidens. So then I also saw the one thing that was interesting: the sire 17% win percentage on dirt sprints and 9% on turf sprints. And the dam was 30% wins in dirt sprints and 0 in turf sprints. So it's like, well, this one, I don't know what you never know what the idea is, why they put them on turf first, but this one seems like it has a possibility to take to the dirt. So, and maybe could just sit off. I mean, it has,
Well,
if it can give you tactical.
Here's the
Yeah, go ahead.
the dam, Pete. I mean, the PP is selective. I mean, he's a dirt horse.
Dirt horse.
I mean, you can look at the siblings. Tipo Duro did run in the baffle, a listed stake there on turf. He's got I mean, there's a little bit of turf breeding, but not a lot. So
No.
I guess Blacker saw something. I mean, I can't imagine they just ran him on turf just to get, or her on turf just to get like 2 runs in her. I don't know, but she's really bred more for dirt, I would say.
That was exactly my thought, and I'm thinking, and again, it's a decently priced horse, $275,000, and it's one of those where you figure if this horse does take, hey, maybe it's got a shot. Again, this isn't the deepest field, this isn't the most accomplished field. This horse has at least run a couple of races. They weren't the best races in the world, but it has that experience as well. So I figure if it does take to the dirt, like I hope it does, then I think you can get it at a decent price.
I'm going to put us back on screen because I want to say something that I feel very good about. I do a lot of work for the show. I think everyone knows that. And one of the great things about this show is we show a lot of replays, and I'm going to start showing more workouts. I have XBTV is fantastic. Highly recommend if you can subscribe to it. And this is a perfect example of why I think people have to watch workouts. And I'm not sure Pete and probably many of you also are privy to this information. And by the way, Trish Smith, I see your comment. I agree with you, Trish. You guys see my choices on the bottom. I'm going with the first-time starter on top here. I am not enamored with the horses that have run. They're okay. I think this 8, Midnight Memories, might be a serious horse for Sean McCarthy. Now, Pete, Sean McCarthy's got 2. He's got Midnight Memories, who, by the way, Pegram, Watson, Whiteman, very famous ownership there out west. Usually, by the way, with Baffert, or a lot of really good horses with Baffert over the years. Sean McCarthy's got 2. He's got Midnight Memories. He also has the 4, Valiancy. So obviously, what did Howard have to do? I had to go and see if I could find some workouts. Now, before I show the workouts, you look at the times. I mean, let's just take Valiancy for a second. Costs $120,000. Real nice. Minute and 2, 48. How about a 111 and 3? I mean, that's a winning time in a race itself.
Yep.
Many days. You got a minute and 2, and then if you look, the 8 pretty much matches up. In fact, they've been working together for a long time, Pete. But as you can see, just by looking, especially earlier in March, the Midnight Memories was clearly outworking the 4. Now, let's take a look at the jockey-trainer combinations. Sean McCarthy, first of all, first time out. And I think this is very important to look at for everyone. First time out. Not very good at all. Look at the top. This is the last 5 years, by the way, everyone. Last 5 years. Pete, he's only 2 for 36.
Yeah, I had that noted. Yep.
Not good, obviously, at all, right?
Yep.
I cannot argue with that. Let's see what he is with the jockey, Juan Hernandez, who, by the way, is probably the best jockey out there right now. Let's see what he is with Juan Hernandez. We look up. Oh, boy. How about 22%, Pete, with Juan Hernandez? My antennas went up when I saw that, as I'm sure yours would and anyone else. By the way, 61% in the money
Yep.
with Juan Hernandez. Okay, so again, we could talk forever, folks, but to me, those were very telling. And then when you go look at the 4, and I'm not going to show the stats, by the way, the stats are not nearly as good with Drayton. Okay, so I don't mind Drayton. Drayton, I thought was on a trajectory, Pete, to be a superstar. Just I don't know what's happened
Yeah,
with him.
something's
That's
off a
another
bit.
time for
Yeah.
another day. But anyway, the bottom line is you got pretty much the leading rider out there, and you have a guy that doesn't usually win first time out with a good rider. So there you go. Now, you want to see some workouts, Pete? All right, let's see some workouts. So this is a workout from way back in March. Now, I know this is a while ago, but you can see that. Let me freeze here. And, I don't usually take this much time on this show to do this, but I think it's absolutely crucial that people understand. You see the times here. They're both the same, right? In the bottom right here. Let me take off the scroll here. Sorry here. Actually, that's our. Let me just take this off for just a second. You see the times. They both went the same time. And Pete, before any of us really had inside info and videos, we'd see the times. We'd be like, okay, they're probably equal in ability, right? Not in my opinion at all. I'll leave the banner off. Go ahead and watch this work, everyone. We're gonna watch a bunch of it. Midnight Memories, who's the 8 in this race Saturday on the outside. First, just look how they break. Now, that's a huge difference. I'm going to rewind it. And again, I know this is almost 2 months ago, but obviously the break's going to matter a lot on Saturday with first-time starters. Midnight Memories clearly, and Valiancy actually may have seen a shadow. I don't know. But he's already got like a 2-length lead here, right? Now Valiancy rushes up to get, even terms with the work. I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward here a little more. They're working together. But if you see how the hands, guys, see the hands here on the jock is scrubbing on Valiancy. If you gotta look really carefully. Meanwhile, the jock, and I don't know who that is, working here. Midnight Memories is cruising on the outside here, blowing by Valiancy, and they're actually going to stop this work just at the top of the stretch. It's not going to go beyond. So to me, Pete, it's not even close. For me, that's not even close. Okay, that's just my opinion. Now, I do want to point out their last work, because the other work you might think a little bit differently, and this is why I am using the 4 a little bit as well. Again, Midnight Memories is on the outside here in this work. Again, Valiancy's on the inside. He does still outbreak him. I don't think there's any question about that. But the Valiancy looks a lot more professional to me. Again, this is a month and a half later. Looks much more professional to me in the work, and what you're going to see, I'll go ahead and fast forward here. Again, they're going to work about to the top of the stretch. Valiancy, I don't think he outworks Midnight Memories, just my opinion, because I don't think Midnight Memories was really being asked as much. But I think it's clear to say that Valiancy right here is much more professional. Now, also, look at how high the knee carriage is here, Pete. I have a feeling that Valiancy is going to be more turf meant. This is just a great freeze frame. If I could just give myself a little kudos here. You see the high knee carriage is usually more turf meant, and you see that Midnight Memories has a lower knee carriage, usually meant a little bit more for the dirt. Anyway, that was a lot of information there, but I think it's valuable. I like Midnight Memories here quite a bit, in my opinion, Pete, as I go ahead. I don't know what Ozzy's going to be. We'll see what the board looks like. I'm going... let me go ahead and put the ticker back up. I'm going 852. I agree with you with Family Fair. And then I got Secret Fix. I have Valiancy also in the mix. Any quick thoughts before we move on, Pete?
No, I basically had the 8 and the 4 were sort of co third choices for me, and I wind up, when you're dealing with the same trainer who has the same, not the best stats. I think I like the call that you made, because that was the note I had, was the jockey advantage. He's still got the best jockey, so if all else fails, if you have the best jockey, you have maybe a better shot. There were some breeding stats that I liked a little bit more on Valiancy, but again, first time out, you're just taking a shot. I was hoping to get a little bit more of a price too on Valiancy. I had a feeling Midnight Memories would be lower just because of Hernandez and because of those nice works. So
yeah, Well,
this
we'll
is
have to see. I mean, it's the first race out. We're going to see
that's
the
what I was
board.
just going to say.
I
Yep.
would not be surprised if Midnight Memories is the favorite.
Me
Now, if
too.
Midnight Memories is cold on the board, that might change my opinion, everyone, and should change everyone's opinion out there. But I just have a hard time believing this horse is not going to take a ton of money for all the reasons I spoke about.
Yeah, for all
Let's
the
go.
I was just gonna say for all the viewers, since it is the first leg, if you have the opportunity and you want to put a pick 5 in, wait as long as you can. Watch the board, like Howard said, because I mean that's the only race that you have that advantage. So might as well take advantage of it if you can.
Now the next race is also a main race. Not as many. I think there might be a first time starter too. But again, look at the double. Look at the will pays and the doubles. So
Yep.
all you go not the will pays. Excuse me, the probables. Hit probables on your ADW, and then go to will pays, and you can see what the doubles will pay going into the next race. So the thought of people saying, well, I don't know what the next the odds are in the next race. Yes, you do. You have a pretty good idea if you look at the probable doubles going forward. Speaking of going forward, Pete, let's go ahead and do that. You like that segue? I actually thought about
That was
today.
very smooth.
Listen.
That's what comes after 130 plus shows, obviously.
I try and the TVG fans.
And
I got
obviously, yeah. I mean,
by the way, I have a 3-minute, the shortened version, and the longer 16-minute version of my appearance on the YouTube channel. You have to go down. There is an upload section about halfway down on my YouTube channel, and you guys can see the entire episode. TVG sent me the 3 minutes. The 16 minutes actually I got from my brother. Shout out to my brother Michael. Thank you. We got it right off the Xfinity DVD, so the quality's not quite as good, but you get to see my entire segment, all 16 minutes of it, if you so desire. All right, Pete, we are going 6 furlongs. We are not going down the hill. This is 6 furlongs on the flat. These are main special weight California breds. It's a big field. I'm going to scroll a little bit down because it's a field of 12. There are some also eligibles. The weather's going to be fine. I doubt they're going to get in. They look like they're dirt meant. The morning line favorite is the number 11 Chipper, Mark Latt, and Kyle Frey, I believe it pronounced his name. I hope I did that correctly. Pete, I'm going to let you go first again. There's our picks right there. Pete and I are going completely different directions.
wow,
here.
look at that.
Oh,
Me
yeah.
and Paul, of course. Me and Paul are almost in sync as always. I mean, we're simpatico. I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's good or bad or East Coast bias. I'm not sure what it is.
I love the visceral reaction from Pete because people that are viewing and watching, Pete has no idea what my picks or Paul's picks until they come up on the screen there. So we are completely. In fact, I'm quite different from both Paul and Peter. So either I'm going to be wise guy, really smart, or complete idiot. Pete, you're going with the 7 here. I believe it's Ooh Babe or Ow Babe. I apologize.
Babe, yeah, I'm not sure.
For Sadler and Hernandez, 3-1 morning line.
Well, again, of course, 3-1, of course, second choice, unfortunately. So the couple of reasons I like that, I thought the horse, so when I watched the replays, I thought the horse ran great 2 back. It had a troubled trip and still kept coming. It had Pratt, which always helps, but now it has Hernandez. So, it's not a huge drop off, but I really like that race coming back. Then the next one, they put it at 5 furlongs, sort of gets into a bit of a speed duel, still holds pretty strong and put away the horse. So the horse that it was dueling with wound up finishing pretty well off the board. And Ubabe, however we're going to pronounce it, wound up holding pretty strong. So I like that. I'd rather see it a little bit more tactical. So hopefully this time it'll be sitting off a bit and not be the speed, especially at the, I don't want to cut in 21 fractions, but that was 5 furlongs. So I like that. And then the one thing I did like, the last race, the only bad thing was that the horse that won the race was pretty good, but the other horses that have come out of it have run not that well. So, but again, you can't always fault the horse. The horses beat who they ran against. It's not always their fault when that happens. So
this is why I got Pete Visco as my co-host. There it is, folks. You can see there's 3 horses. And again, if you're not familiar with your formulator or you're new to the show, left side of the screen where it says next, Square or Not, Aracare and Philosopher's Tone. Those are the only 3 horses coming out of that race. with massive buyers of 31,
Yeah.
41, and 39. A good call.
Now
Pete, by
they
you
now
there.
they to be fair, they were 22, 42, and 40 in that race, so they're not
Yeah,
expected to be good horses to begin with. So maybe that's
good
part of it
point.
too. And then the only other thing I'll mention, not to go too long, is I like the fact that the last two races were not the best races. I mean, he had a pop to 71 buyer last year, but had Lasix added, has Lasix again. I sort of like that. Has the strong jockey, so it sticks with Hernandez. So my thought was, I like when something happens. They put it back on the turf. It ran well. It ran well on the turf last year. Kept it on Lasix. Ran well with Lasix. Again, two back had trouble. Last one got into a bit of a duel. Hopefully, he's a little more tactical this time, and I think it should be in a good position.
Uh, we'll move a little more quickly here.
Yeah.
I have the one in the mix also. I complete mystery horse who ran a massive buyer of a 2 last time. What do you and I love or like at least a little bit about Forgiving Spirit, pun intended, obviously with this horse.
I had some stat. When it's a horse that another one I'm a sucker for, because I watched that race and I'm like, what the heck is he doing with this horse?
Let's put Pete a little bit on camera here because Pete is great with the numbers. Go ahead, Pete. Fire away. What do you got?
So just real quick though, because it did lose by 24 and that just stick out, but it did bleed and it bled and now it's been off for a while and now it's coming back with Lasix.
Sure.
So hopefully that's an excuse. So I had Alvarado, small sample size, 3 for 6 wins, 4 for 6 in the money, first time on the turf. And then it had, 1 for 2, 2 for 2, first time with the trainer, dirt to turf.
Yeah.
And then the sire, I liked a little bit, had 2 for 10 wins, but 6 for 10 in the money in turf sprints. So again, it's just they're putting this horse on the turf now. The sire looks good with it. The trainer has some good stats with it. It was the favorite last time out. It bled.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wins that race and doesn't bleed, you're talking about, probably a horse that's moving up off of this race, not being in a race that's similar at this point.
I mean, when you're favored at the big, at the Delmar meet, and you have Pratt, and you have this horse was well meant first time out. I mean,
exactly.
You got to look between the lines. We don't know. Pete and I don't know if this horse can run Saturday, but there are a lot of things to me I completely agree with you are very interesting. I have Forgiving Spirit third. I'm going to go ahead and move on a little bit and Pete talk about the race. Pete's got the 4 Orth in fourth, more probably underneath type, I'm assuming, for Pete. Here's my opinion, Pete. I'm going to put us both on screen a little bit here. This is a 6 furlong California bred sprint, and the horses that have run just don't do much for me at all. I'm looking for some wise guys, some new faces. I hear everything you say about the 7. I've got the 7, and again, if you're new to the show, I play ABC DRF ticket maker tickets. If you're not familiar with that, I actually have a video. A few people actually asked me, Pete, about the ABC structure. I do have a video on my YouTube channel underneath the betting strategy section. I have a whole about 35-minute tutorial on what the ABC tickets are, how to use DRF Ticket Maker. Highly recommend you folks do that if you're not familiar. I do have Babe in the mix here as a B as in boy. If you want to see my entire ABC grid and really detailed of this pick 5, you have to subscribe to my race day blog, which I know some people watching do subscribe to that. Pete, I have this horse as a B. 5 furlong numbers just don't do much for me. That's just a general rule for me. This race is 6. He's probably not as good at 6, at least in my opinion. I know he showed speed. Maybe he wires the field. Maybe I'm going to be wrong. I mean, I'm using him. He just doesn't do much for me. A lot of these horses that have run don't do much for me. Let's talk about, by the way, the 11. I want to show this replay. Now, Pete, I'm totally against this 11. I'm going to use this 11, I think, as a C. Maybe. I know Paul has this horse second. I just want to show everyone very quickly your morning line favorite, who, by the way, is a 5-year-old, Pete, okay?
Yep.
A 5-year-old. I do not like 5-year-old maidens.
No.
Now, this horse was off a year layoff. I just want to very briefly show Chipper's last race. Chipper's the 1. Okay, again, remember he's a 5-year-old. He was off a layoff in this spot. I'll give him that. He does, from the rail, break a little bit awkwardly. We're going to see there. Right there, he breaks in a little bit. I mean, really not that bad. And then, they go over the dirt here. And, I mean, he's in a good spot. Maybe he's pulling a little bit. Okay, right here, right. Okay, I mean, after that, now look, he gets a great. Whoops, sorry. He gets a great. He's right here. Angles out, save ground. I mean, he to me this is a very good trip, right? He's saving ground, angles out. You can see he's like a big lumbering type. Now right here, Pete. Right here, if you like the one, I would say he's going to blow by. I mean, he saved ground the whole way. He's well meant. Look right here, right? He's ranging up. He's a winner, right? Right?
Yep.
No. He's not a winner. Maybe the 10 came out a little bit, but right here, what's his excuse here? I mean,
He wasn't really making up ground. You can't
it's
really
just like,
see you can't see the gallop out, but it doesn't look
yeah,
like
I
he's
mean,
going to get to him.
he's just like blug, 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 blug,
Well,
blug, blug.
that's a good point,
As
though,
Michelle
Howard.
you likes to say, I mean, he's a plotter. Now, can he win Saturday? Yes. If he wins, I will not be totally shocked. This is never a horse I would use like strongly. Let me talk about the horses I like. Disco Tribute, I'm not going to show the replay, comes out of Open Company, Pete. Now, I know it wasn't maiden special, but to me, Open Company 62.5 down to 50 is just as good as California Breds, if not even better. It's Dan Blacker off the claim. Ran well enough. I think Herrera is underrated. Should get a clean trip from the 12 hole. The other horse we're going to talk about, and then I'm going to move on. I am fascinated. And when I saw this morning line, Pete, I salivated. I have no idea if Infernal Tiger, the 3, can run. There's a lot of things I like. I'll be very brief. First of all, the workouts. I didn't see any workouts, but the workout times are solid. Yes, I know it's Turf Paradise, but the workout times are solid. Manny Ortiz, is not a trainer that runs too many horses at Santa Anita, but look what he is first time. First time out, boom. 22%, 53% in the money. This guy knows how to train a first time starter. And you're saying, okay, but what is he first time starters on grass? You go to first time starters on grass, and I know people are going to say, Howard, see, I told you so. Okay, fine, 0 for 5, but look, Pete, 3 seconds,
I
and
have
look at the
that note.
odds 15, 9, and 5. This guy is a good trainer when he sends a horse to California first time out on the turf. I think there's some very, very interesting things. And he gets Abel Cedillo, a very good jockey out there. So check the board. Pete, unless this horse is taking zero money in the doubles, I'm using him as an A. I think he's fascinating. Last thing, the dam, hello. Turf, 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 turf. 80s, good enough for me against California Breds. Pete,
Yeah,
I'm
no wins.
fascinated.
No
I'm
wins, I think.
fascinated.
But yeah,
This is a horse that could blow up the pick 5, Pete. And I'm just not enamored with a lot of the horses that are lower odds. Any quick thoughts? I know that was very brief on Infernal Tiger. Am I crazy?
No, 100%. It's funny. I have a play underneath question mark, which means I wouldn't have it necessarily as an A just because I'm a little bit unsure, but I would probably have it as a B in a wide open field because, like you said, I don't think any of the lower odds horses are anything special. So this is the kind of race, and Charles B said it in the chat. Looks like a spread race. I think
Yeah,
this is the one in the sequence where I think anything can happen. So if you have a horse and
no question.
sometimes we like the unknown. It's better than the known losers, to use a mean term. It's better than the known losers than to pick a horse that, hey, first time starter, show some stuff with the dam.
Yeah.
Trainer has some decent stats. Why not take a shot at a bomb price?
By the way, Charles, really appreciate this. And I actually got a few. I didn't want to like it or retweet it because along with me, people suggesting I go on to TVG the next day and take over some other talent. There were some negatives towards Todd Schrupp and other things. Listen, I met a lot of talent. When I say talent, I mean on-air talent. That's the word for people that are on TV. All great people at TVG. I won't tell you what Dave Weaver, ice cold, met Dave Weaver, gave me. I said, do you have any last words of advice for me? Literally 5 minutes before I went on. And he said, don't blank up. So, Dave, shout out to you. Hopefully, I did not F up on the show. But anyway, Charles, I do appreciate that. Christine, thanks. Oh, Christine likes the 3. Listen, it's wide open. And I think he's interesting. And he might not take any money anyway. All right, let's move on. Otherwise, we'll be on forever. Race 10. I'm switching over here. Switch. Aquabase. Here we go. This is one of 2 stake races. And I think we can move along a little quicker because these races are a little bit have a few less horses. This is the Santa Margarita. It's a grade 2. Every time I see this name, I want to go grab a drink, by the way, Pete. It's
Gotcha.
a Santa Margarita Stakes.
Why not?
They're going a mile and eighth. This is for the older fillies and mares. It's on the dirt. It's an interesting field. It's a 9-horse field. You see it right there. Morning line favorite is the 9 Miss Bigley, a horse that I've certainly seen and bet who they've sent out west now to run in this race. Let me go ahead and switch the banners here. And Pete is going to go 495. He's going with Park Avenue. I believe that's the horse going turf to dirt.
Yeah, but it's turf to dirt, but it's mostly a dirt horse before that. So again, it was one of those where sometimes I like to have the best speed in the race. If I don't, this horse is a good speed horse, has one on the top, can hold its speed together, top early pace figure. It had the figures are improving. So I like when they come back, especially from a 3 to 4 year old this year, 74, 83. Now I know the 90 was on the turf, but it's still showing steady improvement and it's showing where it could potentially top out at. I mean, look back, it's running against as time goes by second. That was horses a monster on when it needs to be. Then back one, CC, good horses, Merneath, really good horses. And I also had, again, I don't know if I consider this a turf to dirt horse, but Sadler, 24% turf to dirt. So I like that. My one question, and I don't like to get bogged down in this too much, is this horse has only won when on Lasix and now doesn't because of we're in a grade 2 here. So I don't know if that's something. It's run some decent races off Lasix, but it's run its best races on Lasix. So, but again, controlling speed, if I can get that 7-2, I'll take it. Against a field that's not a grade 2 field on paper. I mean, it definitely feels more like a stakes race than a grade 2 race to me.
Yeah, just real quick, I'll bring the PPs back. We have a lot of people commenting. I really appreciate all the comments, but we do tend to have a lot of the same people commenting. If you're watching and you're watching on YouTube, obviously live right now, well, actually, you have to be watching on YouTube in order to comment. I'm sure there are some people that are going through their Twitter, watching this through Twitter. If you are watching this through YouTube, please make sure you comment in the top right-hand side of the screen. And if you're watching this through Twitter, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Might want to jump over to YouTube because that will allow you to join in on our comments here. Pete, real quick, talk about the 9, and then I'll talk about my choices here.
The 9, Miss Bigley, again, I like, this is a recurring theme with me, but I always enjoy a horse that has incrementally increasing figures. So you're not getting that like one big jump, but this year, comes out 86, 89, 91, incrementally working its way up. Last one was in a grade 1. It runs a really nice race against, as time goes by, who has beaten a few of these horses. Then you just look down the board. I know there's your horse, Obligatory. It lost to Obligatory. It runs against good horses. It's competitive. 11 out of 11 in the money on a fast dirt track. So the horse is always there, always gives you a good run, and it should be able to work out a decent stalking trip. So I figure if I can get a horse that's in good position, obviously they made it the favorite, so it's not like I'm saying anything complicated here. I mean, it's just one that seems like it fits.
Yeah, she's very logical. I'm going to talk about Miss Bigley first, who I have in second, by the way, as everyone can see. Pete, this is exactly the kind of horse that just drives me crazy because I have to use her probably as an A. Boy, this is the kind of horse I would love to beat because this horse can be 9. Forget the 5-2. This horse can be 8-5, 9-5 because she's got 4, 5, 6, 7 races that are just clearly better than everyone else in terms of the buyers. But you know what, Pete? First of all, she's a one-run type. She's a nice horse. I don't want to knock the connections. She's freaking won 740,000. But you know what, Pete? She's 6 years old. She's been getting perfect inside trips lately. I'm not sure a mile and eighth is what she wants. I'm feeling this distance might be a problem, Pete. I've bet on this horse a lot. In fact, I had her 2 back in the Bayakoa at 5.5 to 1, which I couldn't believe. She's not like an explosive type, which I know people are going to say, well, then she'll like the mile and eighth. I don't know. I've seen her like range up and hang a lot. This is just a horse I cannot trust at all. And if you're planning on playing this pick 5, everyone out there, I would highly recommend you do not single this horse. I don't think this horse is trustworthy at
Oh,
all.
yeah, God no.
At all.
No,
There's a
no,
lot of
God no.
speed. There's a lot of speed in this race. I'm going with the 3 here, Pete. Now, listen, the Breeders' Cup Distaff, which I was at personally, if everyone remembers, who was won by Bob Marshall Reign of Japan, was probably one of the fastest paces you are ever going to see in a 2-turn race your entire life. By the way, look at the early time form speed rating in that race, 156. I mean, I've never seen anything close to that. Blue Stripe, I'm not going to show the replay. Obviously, it was 53-1. Okay, she wasn't winning this race. I get it. She was actually used a little bit early and ran okay until, about the 3/4 pole. She was coming off a race. She hadn't raced since May of last year from Argentina. So why am I going with this horse? First of all, I don't like the 9 in general, number one. Number two, you have to figure this horse is going to be better, Pete, after this, after getting more acclimated to the States. I think they found a very good spot. She doesn't have to be on the lead. And a lot of these others, Pete, I'm not sure want a mile and an eighth, and I'm 100% positive Blue Stripe can get the distance. Now, is she be good enough? I have no idea, but I think I might get a little bit of a price because of the race effort in the distaff. And I'm just not sold on a lot of others. I'll also just really quickly, the 8, who Paul has in third also. If the 8 can run these turf numbers to her dirt numbers, I think she's a player because she's one of the few closers in this race. I like Herrera. I think is underrated. And she has races on the dirt that are okay, not great. This one on October 11th I liked the most, OP, where she closed into a pretty fast pace. I think Bye Bye Birdie is a little bit interesting here. If she can translate the turf to dirt angle. I'm going 3-9-8. I have to use the 9, but I'll tell you what, I am just against the 9 on the win then entirely. Any quick thoughts, Pete, as I switch to the next race?
No, I do have. So I'm with you on the 3. Actually, that was my last one off of our top 3. I
Okay.
had it on my pick 5 ticket that I sent you, but because we were trying to cut back, I cut it
Yeah.
because it was my B. But I'm 100% on the 3. There's no way I'm leaving the. I was actually hoping for a little bit of a higher price, and then even it's funny, the 2 you mentioned, the 8's another one who I had good notes on, and I thought this one is definitely one. If I'm spreading a little bit and going AB, I'm definitely putting this one underneath.
Here's the other stake race, the Charles Whittingham. It's a grade 2. They're going, they start down the hill, just on that little unusual bend to start the race. It's 1.25 miles. Usually brings together a pretty decent field. I just will say off the start, the distance turf horses in California are not good. I mean, so your top choices here, they're okay. They're nothing special. If they went out east, I think they'd get trounced personally, but this race is not out east. So therefore it makes it interesting. You got a 7-horse field led by number 7, Beyond Brilliant. And you can see on the bottom of the screen, Pete finally came to his senses and agrees with me in a race. He's also going with 4-7. He's also
It had to happen at some point, right? I mean,
right.
We can't be so different.
I'm going to go ahead and start. I agree
Please.
with you, Pete. I like the 4. Now, Dicey Mochara, I'm going to quickly show a little bit of the replay. Looks to me to be an improving type, which you already mentioned. You like, I like. Progressive 4-year-old. Did get a very good trip in the San Luis Rey, but I mean, he lost to Acclimate. I don't know about you, Pete. Acclimate would be 4-5 in this spot.
Yeah.
We're just going to show the end. Well, actually, there's 2 parts I want to show. Look at the beginning here. Dicey Mochara is the 4. I'm sure you saw the same thing because I know you do your homework. Was rank. Now, I don't know if it was because of the slow pace or maybe just wasn't used to going, down the hill. But if you look at the 4, it actually has the lead. Watch right here. You're going to see him start pulling. By the way, Drayton's on again, which right there you can see sort of I think he saw the inside opening, the horse, and he just wanted to go.
Yep.
Was my take on that, Pete. But anyway, once Drayton was able to settle him down, again, Dicey Mochara right here is fine. We'll just take it, around the bend here. Let me take it. So here's Dicey Mochara making a nice move. And again, this race was 1.5 miles. Ranges up to Acclimate. If this was 1.25 miles, by the way, the race would have been over. He just couldn't go by. Maybe he just doesn't want the distance. I mean, Acclimate's a real fighter. I don't really take this as a negative, Pete, to be honest, because, again, Acclimate's a nice horse, and maybe this was a little bit too far. I like the progression, and I think Dicey Mochara has a chance to get a real nice trip and will not be the favorite. So I'm going Dicey Mochara. The seven
Wait,
who
can I say one thing there for you real quick? And
no.
Current who ran
Go
well,
ahead.
it's going to help your case for one. So I'm not disagreeing with you for one. So you might like this one. So they beat Current too, and Current ran third
Yeah.
a ways back, and Current came back and won with I think like
Yes, he did.
a 90 plus buyer. So it wasn't like there was crap behind Dicey
No.
Mochar and Acclimate. There were good horses behind them too.
And by the way, I hate to, I got to put ourselves on camera here a little bit. If anyone from the Delphi Racing Club ends up watching this, I'm sorry, because I don't know if you know this, Pete, but the Delphi Racing Club, who I have 2 horses with, I used to own Current, and Current got claimed and has now been, since then, has been great. So sorry, Delphi, that Current didn't work out for you.
Yeah.
By the way, a horse I chased a long time ago on the Matt Bernier show, by the way, if you want to really go back and check that out. Anyway, as we digress, Pete, this horse to me is interesting. By the way, did you notice the weight? I'm not a weight guy. Okay,
No.
everyone out there, I am not a weight guy. Beyond Brilliance carrying 126. Everyone else is carrying 122. Now, 4 pounds, I don't know. Does it make a difference? That's what we could have an hour discussion. But it is the most weight he's carried. He's carrying 4 more pounds than everyone else, and they are going a long distance. Could that make a difference, in the stretch between a half length win and a half length loss? To me, absolutely.
Agreed.
So I just want to bring that up as well. Pete, I have no idea if this horse can get the distance. I've been right and wrong against this horse. I've used this horse. I've bet against this horse. Listen, he ran a big race in the kill rope. Big race.
Yep.
Fortunately, my buddy Count again came over the top and helped me huge in a contest that day and helped me get to my biggest score of my entire life. So, but Beyond Brilliant ran very well. But that was a mile. That was a mile. He's got to go a mile and a quarter. Now he's gone a mile and 1/8 last year as a 3-year-old. Ran okay. He's coming off a big buyer top, Pete. He's gaining weight. The 6 Master of Foxhound is not slow. I'm sure Beyond Brilliant will have the lead. I just don't trust him. He can obviously win. I'm going 4-7-6. Pete, you're going 4-7-5. Anything you want to add before we go on to the last race here?
No, 7. I mean, 7. Again, it's tough to throw out the speed, even though you don't know if the horse is going to be able to hold. But if it's the horse that's going to, I mean, again, if Master of Foxhounds goes, but otherwise, I think Beyond Brilliant is the best speed, and it's hard to throw those horses out. I mean, they hold a lot more than we want them to sometimes, and you're always mad when you don't have them. So it's a one where you look at it. I mean, it's 9-5. So again, we're not breaking news here, but
nah. We got Jim Pilars is on the show. Little kudos out to Pete from Jim. So thank you, Jim, for that.
Thanks, Jim.
The shout out there. Great guy. We're gonna have Jim back on the show as well from Buffalo. All right, let's go on to the last race here as I go ahead and switch. I don't know about you, Pete. Why is it every closeout leg just a complete clusterfuck impossible race?
Awful.
I mean,
Awful.
these damn racing cemeteries. Now, listen, I understand it. Let me switch banners. I thought this is the toughest race of the sequence. I really did. I mean, I don't know. This is going to be a tough race. Race 12 is 6. I think it's 6.5, right? Do I remember that correct? Yeah.
Yep.
6.5. It's not. No, it is. It is down the hill. It's down the hill, right? It's down the hill.
Yep.
I apologize for that. Down the hill, 6.5. It's an allowance race. These are non-winners. One other than they also be claimed possibly for 25. You can see it's a 10-horse field there, and the favorite, it's wide open, is the number 7 Motorious for D'Amato and Van Dyke, and you are going with that favorite.
Unfortunately, yep. So that was. This is actually my favorite horse of the day. So out of the sequence, this is the one. And again, that's not a super strong. It's not a super strong favorite horse of the day. But out of the sequence, this is the one that jumped out at me the most, and a few reasons. So when I watched the replay, I just liked it. First time over, I really liked the way it ran. It was off a little bit slow. It came, you could put it on the screen if you want. But I just really appreciated this. Yes.
He's the 6 in this race. Go ahead.
So it's a little bit, let me think if see how look at that break backwards.
Absolutely.
hanging out in dead last right now, but runs. So what I liked, I just watched this race and thought this horse first time over still ran well, and that was coming off of what is that, like a 5-month layoff. And then as I looked at it more, so the winner of this race, Cotopaxi, I think is the name of it, who's the chalk there on the lead, comes back with an 89 buyer. I think ran second in a stakes race the next time out. So it wasn't losing to someone it probably shouldn't have lost to. And then you see it coming on the end. This horse starts coming down the lane, and it's just, I mean, the one didn't set the hardest of fractions either. So it was basically crawling. So there was no way he was closing into that one. That's a good horse with soft fractions. But it sort of flew by everybody else. So I really like that. And then I had a couple other quick stats. Second time Lasix, which I always kind of like. And then D'Amato, 29% winners. Second Lasix on turf, 32% with in the last 2 years, 32% second Lasix in turf sprints. I mean, again, these are funny numbers, but they're large numbers. 26% second off a similar layoff, and 32% second after a claim. I know this wasn't a claim, but just shows the same sort of progression where it's picking a horse up second time in its barn. It runs really well. So I just thought, and D'Amato's been hot anyway, but he has some really great stats that fit with what this horse is doing, the type of race it is. So definitely my favorite pick of the day.
Yeah, he's the horse to beat. I just want to show the incremental splits. You see, I mean, we don't really need the numbers. You could just tell visually. But Motorius did have the best final eighth in 11.39. Clearly was coming on. And Guildsman, by the way, is a decent horse as well. I mean, this is the horse to beat. You got the 8 in second, who there's not a lot of speed in this race, which might play against Motorius. But probably the speed here is Mutada for Serin and Curatolo. Looks like he's going to get the lead probably.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought this could potentially be either the speed or right off the speed who could get first run.
Yeah.
Which
Paul's top choice, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you, Peter.
Oh, is it? Oh, beautiful. Yeah, well, of course. I mean, 8-7. Me and Paul getting back and thinking bat and
like peaches and cream.
Again. I mean,
like peaches and cream, and I'm the spoiled milk that puts on top of it.
Hey, you're the one who started the show and is a big shot on TVG. So who are we to argue with you? Who are we to argue? Again, this is just more. I don't love the race, but I do like a couple things. This horse came back at 4. Again, the progression from 3 to 4 is usually a good one, and this horse came back and popped its biggest buyer figure ever. So I like that. Maybe it's coming back sharp. Maybe it's grown into itself a little bit, and then. Sarin has a 22% second off the claim. Again, it's not necessarily a claim, but I still think it fits the same way where it's, second race in the barn, and the first one was good. So if it can improve off that, it's going to have a good shot in this race.
Yeah, I don't have him in the top 3, but I mean, he can win for sure. Let me talk. And by the way, I want to Pete's just giving me crap, which I love because I told him he should be giving me crap. If you like Pete's picks and or Paul, go for it, folks. I mean, I do not have an ego. This is a brutal game. I'm wrong just like the next guy. I've just learned over the years, and I think especially Pete with my most recent success in live might tournaments. I'm really trying hard to find those sneaky horses, and it's amazing how often those sneaky horses run well. Not because I picked them, but just in general. These are horses that used to beat me 5-10 years ago, and I really think I've improved my handicap in the last 10 or 15 years, especially in the last 10 years. And so these horses might not run, but similar to Matt, I think Matt Bernier sort of has the same feeling that I do, that, these horses, they're dirtied up and blah, blah, blah. These horses win at 10-1, just like Awesome Jerry, 21. People are like, how'd this horse win? Take a look at his last race. Awesome Jerry had a ton of trouble that was not in the comment line. So you really got to dig deep. Not everyone has time to do that. Speaking of digging deep, you ready for my deep digger here a little bit? I'd like the 3. This is my price play of the sequence.
Love it.
And you know what? Paul's got the 3 and 3rd. So shout out to you, Paul. I sort of agree with you. Now
I have the 3 and 4th. So I'm
okay. There you go,
you guys.
A lot of things to like to me about the 3. First of all, Mandela, do I need to say any more? I like the fact that this horse was turf meant first time out at Indiana last year with a pretty good trainer in Brad Cox. Now, was scratched off, but I just like the fact that he was meant for turf. He's Theros out of a Ghost Zapper mare. This is not screaming turf, but there is enough turf in the pedigree. What I really like about this horse is the replay of the last win. We have to show it. Now, first of all, Indulge beat First Class Dad. Look who also he beat. He beat Special Ride and Ikagai, the Ikage, I believe it's pronounced. Look what they did. He beat two horses that came back third and fourth with a 94 and 86 buyer. Yeah, I know the next finished with a 38, but Belmont Bill needs to go to Aqueduct or something because he's not very good at Belmont. So I don't know what the name is, but anyway, he beat two real good horses. Okay, without just joking around. Also, take a look at this effort. He's the 2 Indulge in this race. Breaks well. This is a fast race. Breaks well. We're going to see it here in just a second. Okay, breaks well right there. But then there's a lot of other speed. I like the professionalism. He's going to take back a little bit. Right there, he takes back. And now he's in between a little bit for a second. And then he's going to rush up again to get into a better position. So that little move right there. Now he's in between, Pete. Right? So he's in between. This reminds me of the awesome Jerry replay. Again, totally different horses, but it's like these kind of sneaky bad positions that you don't necessarily see in the comment line. So he broke well, took back. Now he's rushing up. Now he's in between horses. Pete, I don't know about you. I hate this position for.
I did. When I watched this replay today, and I was like, "What the hell is he doing?" That's killing me. I mean, that horse is.
Yeah, well, I don't really blame the jockey.
No,
I don't really
not
blame
me,
the jockey. It's just
tough. Yeah,
this is a tough spot. But you know what? The horse is not intimidated at all. He goes on with it, and we're gonna watch the whole thing. I think it's worth watching. By the way, fast fractions, right? He would have right here. He would have every reason to give it up to the horse on the outside, Pete. I mean, how many times have you and I watched a race where in this situation the wide horse comes over the top and beats both of them, right? Like 85% of the time, right? The fact that he digs in here, I really like a lot. Even right here, it still looks like, now look at this train on the outside, looks like he might get him. I just love the fight that this horse shows. Now, this is 5.5. This has got a whole other ball game. You can see hold on to win there. This is a whole other ball game he's got on Saturday. He's got to go 6.5. He's got to handle the turf. There's a lot of questions here, but there's not a lot of speed in this race. I like that he was turf meant. I think he can get the distance. I think Hernandez might be able to get the lead if he wants. If not, maybe he can sit off. And I'm not a huge fan of some of these other ones. There's a lot of horses in here, to me, that are closers. The one who I like a little bit, by the way, is coming off a layoff for a nice jockey trainer combination, but he's a closer. The 2 is a closer. The 4 is a dead closer. The 5 coming from Europe, who I would use, is a closer. The 6 is not good enough. The 7 is the obvious danger. The 8 is a speed horse who's nothing special. And the 9 and 10 don't do much for me. So when you look at it that way, and I'll just go ahead and start wrapping up the show here as I put us back on the screen. When you look at it that way, I love the last race. If he gets the distance, I don't think you're getting 10-1, but I think we're getting Pete, 6-1.
Yeah,
right?
I was thinking even lower potentially because I think this could be a little bit of a buzz. Yeah, but I'm with you. It'd be on my ticket for sure. And the other one I would say is you mentioned it was the 9 is the only other one that had a little bit of mud on the form, and I think at a bomb in a race where the favorites are very weak for the most part. The 9 horse is one. I just want to mention, just make sure that people take a look at it before when you're building your ticket, because this is one that I think could pop because people don't like that. People don't like 8th on the last race. No. So you're going to get some odds on that one.
I want to try to, again, keep the shows down to like an hour and 15 max as we have a long week next week. So we're not going to talk through our pick 5s. I'll just show there's my pick 5. Let me say it out loud because I keep forgetting. By the way, the people that are now listening to the show replays, Pete, the numbers have gone way up. I'm really excited. I just checked the numbers today. So out of respect to all you that are listening right now, my pick 5, this is a Caveman pick 5, $80. I do not play Caveman tickets, which are straight tickets. I use ABC Ticketmaker. But if you were to do a Caveman, my sub 100 Caveman pick 5 you see on the screen would be 5-8 with 1-3-7-11-12 with 3-4-8-9 with 4-7 with 3-7. Again, 5-8 with 1, 3, 7, 11, 12, with 3, 4, 8, 9, with 4, 7, with 3, 7. I could not find a single in the sequence. There is no one I trust as a single. Pete's pick 5 would be a $96 play. He's got 5, 7 with 1, 4, 7, with 4, 5, 9, with 4, 5, 6, 7, with 7, 8. Again, 5, 7 with 1, 4, 7, with 4, 5, 9, with 4, 5, 6, 7, with 7, 8. He has no singles either. You don't have to have a single to hit pick 5. That's, again, a whole other conversation. There's our plays. I just want to look real quickly at the comments. As I look at the comments, Pete, why don't you start closing out the show here? Final thoughts about the pick 5 on Saturday.
I think it's just one, we get a lot of these pick 5s that have a lot of stakes races in them, and you wind up they're being very chalky because you just have, the top horses. And this one, I just think there's a possibility for prices. You have at least 3 or 4 of the races are wide open. The favorites aren't that strong, which is always the key to hitting a big pick 5, is if you can beat a couple of the favorites, then you're gonna build that ticket price up, or the win price up, I should say. So I think for everybody watching, for everybody in the comments, I think this is one you want to take a shot at, whether it's with our picks, whether it's with your own picks. Take a shot at it, because I think this one has a potential to really bang for a bit.
Absolutely. Last thing I want to do, and of course we're going to leave you on, Pete, right to the end. Really quick, I want to show what's happening next week. Again, next week, Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We've got great shows lined up. Please tell your friends, neighbors, everyone. If you can't watch live, please watch or listen to replays. Monday and Tuesday, we're talking about all 20 Derby horses, and Monday we're going to talk about how the post positions might affect the Oaks and the Derby. Wednesday and Thursday we'll be covering the Friday and Saturday stakes like a glove, with the great father-son combination of Frank Mustari and Justin Mustari, the 2021 NHC champion, and a special, who is it going to be? A special surprise guest on Wednesday. Last but not least, if you want information about the podcast pool number 4, which will include the $1 superfecta bet for the Kentucky Derby, as we're going to group our money together, click the show more button below the video player. And also you're going to want to email me, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com, and I'll send you a few page PDF on the rules and how it's going to work. Pete, another fantastic job, of course. I agree with Pete. The pick 5 is going to be awesome Saturday. I'm hoping to crush it for everyone in the podcast pool, because I do not like the favorites, and I think it's a fascinating sequence where everyone can make some money. For Pete Visco, this is Howard Kravitz with episode 131 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I got to rest my voice for next week. Excuse me. Thanks for watching. We'll see you. It's Derby week. We'll see you Monday night, everyone. Take care. Good night.